Okay, so today we'll be talking about circle of willis, which is also very high yield and basic. First thing is first, what is circle of willis? The circle of willis is a circulatory anastomosis supplying blood to brain and neighboring structures. These arteries are located at the base of brain and close to the optic chiasm. The two major arteries contribute to the formation of circle of willis are vertebral and internal carotid artery. One of the best way to get familiar with the anatomy of a structure is to study a labeled diagram. Let's have a look at the circle of willis.
Okay, so here we go. We gotta start from the vertebral arteries. The vertebral arteries, after passing through the transverse foramina and the foramen magnum, moving upward and giving branches to posterior, inferior cerebellar arteries. The vertebral artery giving further more branches to this guy all the way coming down in the spinal cord called anterior spinal artery. The vertebral artery moving upward and fused together, making all important basilar artery. The basilar artery in the base giving further branches to anterior, inferior cerebellar arteries. And this is the pontine branches of basilar artery. The basilar artery giving further more branches to superior cerebellar arteries. The basilar artery is further divided into posterior cerebral arteries. The posterior cerebral arteries, it does having two segments. This is the P1 segment of the posterior cerebral artery, and this is the P2 segment of the posterior cerebral artery. This is all important in internal carotid artery. The internal carotid artery and the posterior cerebral artery, they are communicating with each other through all important posterior communicating arteries. The internal carotid artery, it does having some more branches as middle cerebral arteries and anterior cerebral arteries. The anterior cerebral arteries, it does having two segments. This is the A1 segment of the anterior cerebral artery, and this is the A2 segment of the anterior cerebral artery. Both sides, the anterior cerebral arteries are communicating with each other through a communicating artery which is called anterior communicating artery, and this one is optic chiasm. The main function of the circle of willis is to provide a collateral blood flow between the anterior and posterior arterial systems of the brain. If one of the major arteries forming the circle of willis is blocked, the circle of willis provides the various alternative routes for collateral circulation like in arterial traffic circle. Okay, so this A reminds me of anterior cerebral arteries, and this is the bridge which reminds me of anterior communicating arteries, and we got a beautiful eyes which reminds me of internal carotid arteries. And once again we got a B for bridge which reminds me of posterior communicating arteries, and this P is for posterior cerebral arteries. And finally, we got a B in the base, which is for basilar artery. Okay, doctors, I got some questions for you. Question number 1. Which two major arteries contribute to the formation of circle of Willis? Very good. Vertebral and internal carotid artery. Question number 2. Posterior cerebral artery is the branch of which artery? Great! Posterior cerebral artery is the branch of basilar artery. Okay. Question number 3. Which arteries merge to form basilar artery? Very good. Vertebral artery merge to form the basilar artery. Okay, that's all for today, and thank you so much for your cooperation and teamwork. Have a good day. Enjoy.